Levels of biodiversity. The term biodiversity was first coined by Ecology. The levels of biodiversity. The term biodiversity was first coined by Ecology. It was first coined by Ecology in 1985, but this term was populated by Edward Osborne Wilson. But this term was populated by Edward Osborne Wilson, who is known as the father of biodiversity. Edward Osborne Wilson. The important hierarchical levels of diversity, genetic diversity, species diversity, and the community and ecosystem diversity. Genetic diversity, variation of genes within species, which refers to the variety of species within a region. According to biodiversity, at the level of community and ecosystem has three perspectives: community and ecosystem, genetic diversity, species diversity, and community and ecosystem diversity. According to Whitaker 1972, diversity at the level of community and ecosystem has three perspectives: alpha diversity, beta diversity, and gamma diversity. Alpha diversity. Diversity of organisms within community diversity. It refers to the diversity of organisms sharing the same community or habitat. Beta diversity. Diversity of organisms between the communities, within the community, within the community, then between the communities that is in the ecosystem. Gamma diversity. Diversity of habitat over the total landscape of biome. The World Conservation Union, IUCN, was formerly known as the World Conservation Union, that is WCN. IUCN, International Union of Conservation of Nature. International Union for Conservation of Nature was formerly known as the World Conservation Union. Robert May places the global species diversity about 7 million. Robert May places the global species diversity about 7 million. More than 70% of all the species recorded are animals. More than 70% of the species recorded are animals. More than 70% of all the species recorded are animals. Insects, other plants, including algae and angiosperms, etc., comprise no more than 22% of the total. Fungi and angiosperms. Although India has only 2.4% of the world's total land area, its share of the global species diversity is impressive 8.81%. Its share of the global species diversity is an impressive 8.1%. India is one of the 12 mega diversity countries of the world. India is one of the 12 mega diversity countries of the world. Rice grown in Asia is protected from the four main diseases by genes received from a single wildlife species. Oil is in Nevada from India. Rice grown in Asia is protected from the rice grown in Asia is protected from the four main diseases by genes received from a single wildlife species. Oil is Nevada from India. Rice grown in Asia is protected from the four main diseases by genes received from a single wildlife species. Oil is Nevada from India. Rice grown in Asia is protected from the four main diseases by genes received from a single wild rice species, that is Oryza nevada. Aspirin and elegicito obtained from Philippendula armaria. Aspirin is an analgesic drug. Aspirin is an analgesic drug obtained from Philippendula armaria. Aspirin, an analgesic drug obtained from Philippendula armaria. Morphine, papaver somniferous, used as an analgesic. Morphine. Aspirin, an analgesic drug obtained from Philippendula armaria. Morphine is an analgesic. Papaver somniferous. Quinine, Cinchona officinalis. is used for the treatment of malaria and obtained from the bark of cinchona tree. Taxol, it is an anti-cancer drug obtained from the bark of the yew tree, that is Taxus stabilifolia, Taxus baccata. Sacred trees: tulsi, neem, peepal, kejri, tulsi, Osimum sanctum, neem, Zadiracta indica, peepal, Ficus religiosa, kejri, Prosopis silvaria. Plants and animals are symbols of national pride and cultural heritage. National flower is lotus, Nilambo nucifera. National tree is Indian bunya, that is Ficus bengalensis. National fruit is mango, Mangifera indica. National bird is Indian peacock, Pavo cristatus. National reptile is king cobra. 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 Ophiophagus is henna. National animal is tiger. National aquatic animal is Young's dolphin. National heritage animal is Indian elephant, that is elephant. Maximus indica. Four major causes of biodiversity loss, that is triple planetary crisis: pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate change. Pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate change. Pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate change. Four major causes of biodiversity loss: the evil quadrant. Four major causes of biodiversity, that is the evil quadrant, is known by the name of evil quadrant. The evil quadrant: habitat loss and fragmentation, introduction of exotic alien species, overexploitation and co-extinction. Habitat loss: the Amazon rainforest reduces 20% of the total oxygen lungs of the planet, has been cut and cleared for the cultivation of soybeans and for conversion to grasslands for raising beef cattle. Introduction of exotic or alien species: carrot grass, Parthenium, water hyacinth, Echonia, lantana. Carrot grass, water hyacinth, lantana canara. Ornamental plant from Brazil spreading in our forest. Spotted deer, XS by Britishers in Andaman and Nicobar Island. Predatory fishes such as Nile perch, African catfish, Nile perch and exotic alien fish introduced into Lake Victoria, South Africa. Nile perch and exotic alien fish introduced into Lake Victoria, South Africa, that ends the ecosystem of lake by eliminating small just-lit fish endemic to the lake. Nile perch and exotic alien fish introduced into the Lake Victoria. African catfish, aquaculture purpose, exposing threat to native catfishes of India. Revolva serpentia. Third is overexploitation. Sarpagandha used to treat snakebite, nervous disorders, tranquilizers, cholera, etc. in India due to overcollection. Overexploitation. So it is tree, that is Revolva serpentina, that is Sarpagandha used to treat snakebite, nervous disorders, cholera is threatened in India due to overcollection. Next is co-extinction. Biological magnification. Biological accumulation, magnification. Through food chain, some harmful chemical unknowingly enter into our bodies and get accumulated there. Through food chain, some harmful chemicals unknowingly enter into our body and get accumulated there. Baseline data on biodiversity. Red data book 1963. IUCN initiated it in 1963 and since then it has updated frequently. The 2012 red list is the most comprehensive inventory of the global conservation status of plant and animal species. IUCN in 1963 initiated red data book. IUCN in 1963 initiated the red data book. Blue book: the UNEP has compiled data on the endangered species of the world. Blue book by UNEP, red data book by IUCN initiated in 1963 and since then it is updated frequently. The 2012 red list is the most comprehensive inventory of the global conservation status of plant and animal species. Blue book: UNEP has compiled data on the endangered species of the world. Green book: the Botanical Survey of India published a green book which lists rare plant growing in protected areas like botanical gardens. Green book is issued by the Botanical Survey. It is maintained by the Botanical Survey of India, published a green book which lists rare rare plant growing in protected areas, which enlists rare plant growing in protected areas like botanical gardens. The IUCN Red List or Red Data Book, it is called Life's Barometer. The Red List, IUCN Red List or the Red Data Book, it is called as Life's Barometer. It is called as Life's Barometer. It is called as Life's Barometer. It is a catalog of taxa that are facing risk of extinction. The IUCN has recognized 5 during 1963 to 99. After that, 8 and at last 9 weightless categories. सबसे पहले 5 है, then 8 and then 9. So total 22 species. IUCN has recognized 5 during 1963 to 99. After that, 8 in 2000 and then 9, 5, 8 and 9, 5, 8 and 9. Category and definition. Endangered, total 9 है. Endangered species, यहाँ पे vulnerable, then endangered, critically endangered, extinct in the word and extinct. Vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, extinct in the word and extinct. Extinct and wild होगा यहाँ पे, extinct and wild. Vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, extinct in the word and then extinct. नीचे आएंगे तो not evaluated, data deficient, least concern and the near threatened, not evaluated, data deficient, least concern and the near threatened, not evaluated, data deficient, least concern and near threatened, not evaluated, data deficient, सबसे पहले evaluate नहीं किया गया, then data deficient, then least concern, then near when species are pervasive and abundant after careful assessment is concerned and near threatened. Vulnerable when it is not critically endangered or endangered but is facing a high risk of extinction in the wild in the medium term future. That is, example is black bug. Black bug is endangered. Vulnerable. Black bug is vulnerable, endangered when it is not critically endangered but is facing a very high risk of extinction in the wild in the near. That is red panda. Red panda is endangered, critically endangered when it is facing an extremely high risk of extinction in the wild in the near future. That is pygmy hog and vultures, critically endangered. Extinct in the wild when exhaustive surveys are known and or expected to be data failed to record an individual. Extinct in the word extinct when there is no reasonable doubt that the last individual has died. That is extinct. Vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered and then extinct. सबसे पहले not evaluated, data deficient, least concern, then nearly threatened. In the early 1990s, vultures were dying of kidney failure due to the drug diclofenac. Vultures were dying of kidney failures due to drug, जिसका नाम था diclofenac. In the early 1990s, vultures were dying of kidney failures due to drug diclofenac. They were eating dead cow and the cow had been given a low-cost painkiller that is diclofenac. Vultures are most efficient scavengers of the world and very slowly at least only one egg in a year. Two basic strategies of biodiversity conservation. First is in-situ, that is on-site conservation, and second is ex-situ conservation. In-situ and ex-situ. First is the in-situ conservation. It emphasizes the protection of total ecosystem. We save the entire forest to save the tiger. In-situ or on-site conservation emphasizes on protection of total. It emphasizes on protection of the total ecosystem. For example, if we save the entire forest to save the tiger, they identify certain biodiversity hotspot regions for maximum protection. Hotspots. Norman Myers developed the concept of hotspot in 1988 to designate priority areas for in-situ conservation. Norman Myers developed the concept of hotspot in 1988. Norman Myers developed the concept of hotspot in 1988. Norman Myers developed the concept of hotspots in 1988 to designate priority areas for in-situ conservation. Hotspot criteria for determining a hotspot: number of endemic or unique species must contain 1500 species of vascular plants as endemics. 1500 species of vascular plants as endemics. Degree of threat: species must have lost at least 70% of its original habitat. Must have lost at least 70% of its original habitat. Next is, out of the total 36 hotspots of the world, 4 are located in India. Total 36 hotspots in the world, 4 are located in India: Indo-Burma, Sunderland, Himalayas, and Western Ghats. First is Indo-Burma, which is 5% in India. Sunderland, Nicobar is a part of it. Sunderland, Nicobar is a part of it. 1.28%. Home to world's largest flower. It is home to the world's largest flower, that is Rafflesia. Himalayas, it covers 44% of Indian region, and then Western Ghats and Sri Lanka, it covers 64.9% of India. First is Indo-Burma, second is Sunderland, third is Himalayas, and the fourth is Western Ghats in Sri Lanka. It covers 64.9%, it covers 44%, and then Indo-Burma 5% in India, and Sunderland 1.28%. Home to world largest flower, that is Rafflesia. It is home to the world largest flower, that is Rafflesia. Protected areas in India: ecologically and biodiversity rich region are legally protected as Biosphere reserve, national parks, and wildlife sanctuaries. Protected areas in India: ecologically and biodiversity rich regions are legally protected as Biosphere reserve, national park, and wildlife sanctuaries. Total 18 Biosphere reserves है, 106 national park and wildlife sanctuaries, that is 533. These are the protected areas. हम लोग इन situ conservation as hotspots and protected areas कर सकते हैं. Protected areas consist of Biosphere reserve, national park, and wildlife sanctuaries. 903 protected areas. India has a total of 903 protected areas covering 5.02% of the land surfaces against 10% international suggested norm. First Biosphere Reserve in India, that is Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. First Biosphere Reserve in India, that is Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve in 1986. First in the world. अगर फर्स्ट वर्ड में बात करें, डेट इज ड्राई टॉर्टुगस बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व ऑफ फ्लोरिडा यूएसए 1979. ड्राई टॉर्टुगस बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व ऑफ फ्लोरिडा यूएसए 1979. ड्राई टॉर्टुगस बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व ऑफ फ्लोरिडा यूएसए 1979. फर्स्ट नेशनल पार्क ऑफ इंडिया, that is Haley National Park. First National Park of India is Haley National Park, renamed in 1952 as Ramganga National Park. First National Park of India, that is Haley National Park in 1936, renamed in 1952 as Ramganga National Park. Renamed it in 1956 is Jim Corbett National Park. First in the world is Yellowstone National Park. First in the world is Yellowstone National Park of USA 1872. First in the world is Yellowstone National Park of USA. First in the world, Yellowstone National Park of USA 1872, and first in the world, that is Biosphere Reserve, Dry Tortugas Biosphere Reserve of Florida, USA 1979. Biosphere reserves, these are a special category of protected areas of land and or coastal environment wherein people are an integral part of the system. People are an integral part of the system. ये land में भी होता है, land and coastal environment. The concept of Biosphere Reserve was launched in 1975. The concept of Biosphere Reserve was launched in 1975 as a part of UNESCO's Man and Biosphere program, as a part of UNESCO Man and Biosphere Reserve program. Man and Biosphere program, it may incorporate within its limit existing or proposed national park, wildlife sanctuaries, and other protected areas constituents of Biosphere Reserve. What are the constituents of Biosphere Reserve? First is a core area, then there is a buffer area, and third is a transition area. Core area, buffer area, and then transition area. Core area, buffer area, and then transition area. Core or natural zone, it represents an undisturbed or least disturbed area. It is the least disturbed or the undisturbed area of representation. It is undisturbed or the least disturbed area of representation ecosystem. Buffers and it surrounds the core zone and is meant for demonstration, research, and educational activities. Transition zone, area of active cooperation between reserve management and local people. It is an area of active cooperation between the reserve management and local people wherein activities like settlement, यहाँ पे settlement होता है, cropping, forestry, recreation, other economic uses continue in harmony with conservation goals. Sacred forest and sacred lakes, forest patches of varying dimension protected by tribal communities due to religious sanctity according to them. Khasi and Jayante Hills in Meghalaya, Aravalli Hills, Rajasthan, Western Ghat, Sarguja and Chanta, Bastar, Chhattisgarh, Kerala, Kechapalli Lake and Sikkim. Sacred forests and sacred lakes. These are the examples. Forest patches of varying dimension protected by, these are protected by the tribal communities due to religious sanctity according to them. These are the examples. Khasi and Jaintia Hills in Meghalaya, Aravalli Hills in Rajasthan, Western Ghat and Sarguja, Chandan, Bastar, Chhattisgarh, Kerala. Next is Kechapalli Lake in Sikkim. Kechapalli Lake in Sikkim. Ex-situ conservation. Ex-situ conservation threat. Ex-situ off-site conservation. Threatened plants and animals are taken out from their natural habitat. These threatened plants and animals are they threaten plants and animals. So the threatened plants and animals whether they are taken out from their natural habitat and placed in special setting where they can be protected by giving special care. Botanical gardens, zoos, conservation stands, and gene, pollen, seedling, tissue culture, and DNA banks are examples. In-vitro conservation, especially by cryo nitrogen at a temperature of -196 degrees Celsius, is particularly useful for conserving vegetatively propagated crops like potato. In vitro conservation refers to uh, in-vitro conservation refers to a conservation method by cryopreservation. By cryopreservation in liquid nitrogen at a temperature of -196 degrees Celsius. Cryopreservation is the storage of material at ultra low temperature. What is cryopreservation? It is the storage of material at ultra low temperature, either by very rapidly cooling used for storing seeds or by gradual cooling and simultaneous dehydration at low temperature used for tissue culture. The material can be stored for a long period of time in compact low maintenance refrigeration unit. Arboreta, botanical garden with specific trees and shrub species are cultivated. What is arboreta? Arboreta is a botanical garden where specific trees and shrub species are cultivated. Arboreta is a botanical garden where specific trees and shrub species are cultivated. Botanical garden where specific trees and shrub species are cultivated. What is arboreta? It is a botanical garden where specific trees and shrub species are cultivated. What is arboreta? That is a botanical garden. It is a botanical garden where specific trees and shrub species are cultivated. Arboreta is a botanical garden where specific trees and shrub species are cultivated. यहाँ पे specific trees and shrub species are cultivated. Biodiversity Conservation Ramsar Convention 1971 Iran came into force in 1975. India became signatory in 1982. Ramsar Convention 1971 Iran Ramsar Convention, it came into force in 1975 and India became the signatory in 1982. Ramsar Convention 1971. Ramsar Convention 1971. Ramsar Convention 1971 Iran came into force in 1975. India became signatory in 1982. World Heritage Convention 1972 Paris. World Heritage Convention 1972 Paris came into force in 1975 and it came into force in 1975. World Heritage Convention 1972 Paris, it came into force in 1975. It is a short form of a convention. It is a short form of a convention concerning the protection of the world cultural and natural heritage. India is a member. India is a member. Convention on Biological Diversity, that is CBD. The Earth Summit 1992, Convention on Biological Diversity, the Earth Summit 1992, Rio de Janeiro. Convention on Biological Diversity, the Earth Summit 1992, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, came into force in 1993. Agenda 21. Agenda 21, it is a product of the Earth Summit 1992. Agenda 21, it is a product of the Earth Summit 1992. Agenda 21, it is a product of the Earth Summit 1992. In 2000, the UN has proclaimed May 22 the International Day of Biodiversity. In 2000, the UN has proclaimed May 22 as the International Day of Biodiversity. In 2000, it is important, that is in 2000, the UN has proclaimed May 22 as the International Day of Biodiversity. World Summit on Sustainable Development held in 2002, which is also known as Rio Plus 10. World Summit on Sustainable Development held in 2010 in Johannesburg, South Africa. World Summit on Sustainable Development. World Summit on Sustainable Development held in 2002 in Johannesburg, South Africa. Ministry of Environment 1980 in India. Then Ministry of Environment and Forest. सबसे पहले it was known by the name of Ministry of Environment in 1980, then Ministry of Environment and Forest in 1985, then MOEFCCC in 2014, that is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Increase in concentration of greenhouse gases. First is carbon dioxide. It is the most abundant, persists for 5 to 200 years in the atmosphere. First is the carbon dioxide. It is the most abundant and it persists for 5 to 200 years in the atmosphere, CO2. Then comes the methane. It is largely a product of incomplete decomposition as produced by a group of bacteria called methanogene under anaerobic condition. It is produced by a group of bacteria which is called as methanogene under an anaerobic conditions. The major sources of methane include freshwater wetlands, enteric fermentation. Major sources क्या होते हैं इसके include freshwater wetlands हो गए, enteric fermentation in kettle, flooded rice fields. Biomass burning also produces methane. Biomass burning also produces methane. Methane persists for 12 years और methane की life होती है for 12 years. Methane persists for 12 years. Methane persists for 12 years. CFCs are non-toxic. CFCs are non-toxic and non-flammable, highly stable and synthetic gases, compounds of carbon and halogens. Major sources: leaking ACs, refrigeration units, evaporation of industrial solvents, and production of plastic foams and propellants and aerosol spray cans. It persists for 45 to 260 years. It persists for 45 to 260 years. Next is nitrous oxide. Sources: agri, biomass burning, industrial processes, nylon production, livestock waste, fertilizer, etc. Share of GHGs to global warming. The highest share is of CO2. The second share is of CH4, that is methane. The third is of CFCs, and the fourth is of N2O, that is nitrous oxide. Carbon dioxide fertilization. The response of plants to elevated concentration of CO2 will result in a greater plant species. The response of plants to elevated concentration of CO2 will result in greater plant species. This is known as carbon dioxide fertilization. What is the concept of carbon dioxide fertilization? Refers to the response of plants to elevated concentration of CO2, that is greater plant species. The response of plants to elevated concentration of CO2, which will result in greater plant species. Global warming was popularized by Wallace Smith Broker in 1970. Global warming was popularized by Wallace Smith Broker in 1970. Global warming was popularized by Wallace Smith Broker in 1970. Wallace Smith Broker in 1970. The concentration of O3 in the stratosphere changes with season. The concentration being highest during Feb to April, that is spring season. Concentration of O3 highest during the spring season, that is February to April, and lowest in July to October, that is the rainy season. रेनी सीजन में लोएस्ट होती है एंड हाईएस्ट होती है स्प्रिंग सीजन में. द डिक्लाइन इन स्प्रिंग टाइम ओजोन layer thickness is termed as ozone hole. The decline in springtime ozone layer thickness is termed as ozone hole. The ozone hole was first discovered in 1985. It was first discovered in 1985 over Antarctica. Ozone hole was first discovered in 1985 over the Antarctica. Over Antarctica, also confirmed over Arctic in 1990. It was also confirmed over Arctic in 1990. Chlorofluorocarbon chemical composition is CCF2Cl2. Chlorofluorocarbon chemical composition is CCF2 and Cl2. Chemical name is freon. Its chemical name is freon. For making discoveries related to ozone destruction, Sherwood, Rowland, Mario Molina along with Paul Crutzen were honored with the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1995. For making discoveries related to ozone destruction, first is Sherwood, second is Rowland, third is Mario Molina, and fourth is Paul Crutzen were honored with the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1995. Sherwood, Rowland, Mario Molina, Crutzen. Effects of ozone depletion: UV rays, UVA, UVB, UVC. UVA, UVB and UVC. There are three kinds of rays. First is UVA, UVB and UVC. UVC blocked by ozone layer of atmosphere, 100% absorbed. It is completely blocked. UVC is an exception. UVC is completely blocked by ozone layer. It is completely blocked. UVC is blocked by the ozone layer of atmosphere. It is 100% absorbed. UVA and UVB reach the earth's surface. UVA 5% absorbed by ozone, and UVB is 95% absorbed. UVB is 95% absorbed. And UVB highly injurious to living organism. UVB is highly injurious to living organism. It damages DNA and mutation occur. It causes aging of skin, damage to skin cells, and various types of skin cancer. In human eye, cornea absorbs UVB radiation, and a high dose of UVB causes inflammation of cornea called snow blindness. UVB radiation and a high dose of UVB causes inflammation of cornea. Inflammation of cornea जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं, it is known as snow blindness. Cataract etc. Such exposure may permanently damage the cornea. It also diminishes the function of immune system. It affects photosynthesis as well as damage nucleic acid in living organism. So UVB is highly injurious to living organism. 5% loss of ozone results in 10% increase in UVB radiation. A 5% loss of ozone results in 10% increase in UVB radiation. A 5% loss of ozone results in 10% increase in UVB radiation. A 5% loss of ozone results in 10% increase in UVB radiation. A 5% loss of ozone results in 10% increase in UVB radiation. Montreal Protocol in 1987, effective in 1989 to control the emission of ozone depleting substances to control the emission of ozone depleting substances. In 1994, UNGA proclaimed 16 September. In 1994, UNGA proclaimed in 1994, UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, proclaimed 16 September as the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. World Ozone Day. Efforts for reducing the CFCs and other ozone depleting chemicals. Efforts for reducing the CFCs and other ozone depleting chemicals. Earth Summit 1992, Kyoto Protocol 1997. Cancun Agreement 2010, held at Cancun, Mexico. Paris Agreement 2015, Right to Healthy Environment, Article 21, Article 48A. Article 48A, Article 51G, Right to Healthy Environment, Environment Policies of India, National Forest Policy 1998, Natural Conservation Strategy and Policy, Statement on Environment and Development 1992, Policy Statement on Abatement of Pollution 1992, National Environment Action Program 1994, National Agriculture Policy 2000, National Population Policy 2000, National Water Policy 2002, Wildlife Conservation Strategy 2002, National Environment Policy 2006. Next is Environment Rules and Regulations. Environment Rules and Regulation. Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Water Prevention Act 1974, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, Environment Protection Act 1986, Environment Protection Act EPA 1986, Environment Protection Act 1986, Environment Protection Act 1986, Environment Protection Act 1986, Environment Protection Rules 1986, Environment Impact Assessment 1994, Environment Impact Assessment in 1994. It is made mandatory for certain types of projects like nuclear power, river valley project, ports, harbors, etc. The project proponent requires to submit an EIA report to Environment Ministry, and after getting clearance, they can initiate the project. The clearance letter is valid for 5 years. The clearance letter is valid for 5 years. Biological Diversity Act 2002, Amendment 2023. Central Pollution Control Board CPCB 1974 provides technical services to the MOEF CCC with regard to the provision of EPA 1986. The Central Pollution Control Board 1974. The Central Pollution Control Board CPCB 1974 provides technical services. It provides technical services to the MOEF CCC with regard to the previous provision of EPA 1986. EcoMark came in 1991, issued by BIS, that is Bureau of Indian Standards, certification mark to product conforming to a set of standard aimed at the least impact on the ecosystem. Pot is chosen as the earthen pot was chosen as a symbol of Ecomark because it is renewable source and does not produce any hazardous waste. National Green Tribunal NGT Delhi 2010 में आया था NGT National Green Tribunal exclusively dedicated to environmental issues matter, established in October 2010, headed by a former judge. It is headed by a former judge of Supreme Court. Established by Parliament. NGT Act 2010, based on polluter's principles. It is based on polluter-based principle and sustainable development. It is based on polluter-based principle and sustainable development. No, I am not preparing for BPSC teacher. I am preparing for UP Lekpal. हाँ, CABF AC का भी एग्ज़ाम में अपियर करूँगी इस ईयर. I will be aiming for that examination too. A lot of time is left for that examination. That's why I am just focusing on my recent examination. Hello. लिटिल हिंदी. ओके, अभी मैं हाफ एन आवर का और पढ़ लेती हूँ, उसके बाद वी कैन हैव अ कन्वर्सेशन. ग्रेट. Bishnoi moment. Bishnoi 29 principles laid by Guru Jamboji. 29 principles. Bishnoi moment. 29 principles laid down by Guru Jamboji. 1730. Kejrolde village, Marwar region, Jodhpur. Kejrolde village, Marwar region, Jodhpur district में Kejrolde village. Amrita Devi Vishnoi, Beniwal daughters Ashu Rani and Bhagu saved sacred trees from being cut down by the king's soldiers for a new palace. Amrita Devi Vishnoi या फिर Beniwal daughters Ashu Rani and Bhagu. Daughters Ashu Rani and Bhagu. Chipko movement. Daughters name is Ashu Rani and Bhagu. Amrita Devi Vishnoi Beniwal daughters Ashu Rani and Bhagu. Chipko movement March 1973. Chamoli and Theri Garhwal, Uttarakhand. Chipko movement started in March 1973. Chamoli and Theri Garhwal, Uttarakhand. Chandi Prasad Bhatt and Sundarlal Bahuguna, Gaura Devi and others. Chandi Prasad Bhatt, Sundarlal Bahuguna, Gaura Devi and others. Chandi Prasad Bhatt, Sundarlal Bahuguna, Gaura Devi. Chipko movement started in March 1973. Chipko movement started in March 1973. Chamoli and Theri Garhwal, Uttarakhand. Chandi Prasad Bhatt, Sundarlal Bahuguna, Gaura Devi. Chipko movement March 1973. Chamoli and Theri Garhwal, Uttarakhand. Chandi Prasad Bhatt, Sundarlal Bahuguna, Gaura Devi. Protect the trees in the Himalayan slopes from the access of contractors of the forest. Save Silent Valley movement, absence of noisy cicadal, that is Jingo. Save Silent Valley movement, 1978. It was in Kerala. Sugandha Kumari activist, Kerala Sastra Sahitya Parishad NGO, Salim Ali or ornithologist. Sugandha Kumari, she was an activist. Kerala Sastra Sahitya Parishad. KSSP, that is Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad. Salim Ali, who was an ornithologist, to protect the Silent Valley, the moist evergreen forest from being destroyed for a hydroelectric project in 1985. Silent Valley declared as a in 1985. Silent Valley declared as a national park. Jungle Bachao Andolan. It was started in 1982 in Singhbum district of Jharkhand. The tribals of Singhbum against government decision to replace natural sal forest. Against the government decision to replace natural sal forest with teak. Against government decision to replace natural sal forest with teak. Against the government decision to replace a natural sal forest with teak. Again, the government decision to replace a natural sal forest with teak. Navadanya movement. Now is equals to 9. Then is equals to crops. 9 crops. Doon Valley Uttarakhand against GM crop. It was against GM crops in favor of naturally occurring crop seeds. 1982 Doon Valley Uttarakhand. Navadanya movement. Vandana Shiva. He is also known as Gandhi of Grain. He is also known as Gandhi of Grain. Vandan Shiva, Vandan Shiva, Vandan Shiva. He is also known as Gandhi of Grain. Vandan Shiva is also known as Gandhi of Grain against the GM crop in favor of naturally occurring crop seeds. Navdanya movement 1982 Doon Valley Uttarakhand. Apiko movement Uttar Kannada Shimoga district Karnataka. Apiko movement 1983 against the felling and commercialization of natural forests and the ruin of ancient livelihood. Apiko movement Uttar Kannada Shimoga district Karnataka. Uttar Kannada Shimoga district Karnataka. Narmada Bachao Andolan 1985. Narmada river which flows through Gujarat, Maharashtra and MP. Which flows through Gujarat, Maharashtra and then MP. Gujarat, Maharashtra and MP. Medha Patkar, Baba Amte and others. Medha Patkar, Baba Amte and others against large dams being built across the Narmada river. Against large dams being built across the Narmada river. Tarun Bhagat Sangh, Alwar Raja Sangh commenced with Hamirpur village. Tarun Bhagat Sangh, Alwar, Rajasthan, 1985. Rajendra Singh, who is also India. Rajendra Singh, who is also known as the Waterman of India. Rajendra Singh, who is also known as the Waterman of India. Environmental conservation, especially water harvesting. Tarun Bhagat Singh, 1985. Alwar Rajasthan commenced with the Hamirpur village. Rajendra Singh, Waterman of India. Environmental conservation, especially water harvesting. Saving the Western Ghats, Kailash Malhotra against deforestation. Saving the Western Ghats, it was by Kailash Malhotra, 1988. बचाओ आंदोलन सेव द सीड्स मूवमेंट यूके उत्तराखंड में हुआ था. जरधर गांव टिहरी डिस्ट्रिक्ट. विजय जरधरी a farmer social activist to promote bar anaj that is 12 grains in the place of cashew like peas, potato, soya beans, etc. Beach Bachao Andolan in 1989. Jardhar गांव जरधरी नाम है इनका. विजय जरधरी. टिहरी डैम conflict 1990. टिहरी डैम conflict 1990. भागीरथी river near टिहरी in UK. Uttarakhand, Sundarlal Bahuguna. It was again by Sundarlal Bahuguna. Tigri Dam conflict. Protest against the displacement of town inhabitants and the environmental consequences of the weak ecosystem. Next is the Methi movement. माइका और मदर्स होम 1995 में उत्तराखंड में हुआ था. गलदान विलेज, कल्याण सिंह रावत टीचर. ट्री प्लांटेशन मूवमेंट, मैथी मूवमेंट, माइका मदर्स होम, ट्री मैथी मूवमेंट विच refers to माइका. मैथी मूवमेंट, मैथी माइका मदर्स होम 1995 उत्तराखंड. गोलदान विलेज, कल्याण सिंह रावत टीचर. ट्री प्लांटेशन मूवमेंट which is a tree plantation movement. Bishnoi 29 principles Guru Jamboji. Bishnoi movement 29 principles by Guru Jamboji. Bishnoi movement 29 principles by Guru Jamboji 1730. Bishnoi movement 29 principles Guru Jamboji 1730. KJ village Jodhpur district. Khejurle village Jodhpur district. Amrita Devi Bishnoi Perivar and daughters Ashurani and Babu save sacred trees from being cut down by the king soldiers for a new palace. Chipko movement March 1973. Chipko movement March 1973. Chamoli Theory Garhwal Uttarakhand. Chandi Prasad Bhatt, Sundarlal Bahuguna and Gaura Devi protect the trees in the Himalayas source from the access of contractors of the forest. Save Silent Valley movement. Absence of noisy cicadas or Jingu 1978. Silent Valley Palakkad district Kerala 1978. 1978 Silent Valley Palakkad district Kerala. Sugandha Kumari activist Kerala Sastya Sahitya Parishad Salimali to protect the Silent Valley, the Mohist evergreen forest from being destroyed for a hydroelectric project. In 1985 Silent Valley declared as a national park. In 1985 it was declared as a national park. Jungle Bachao Andolan, Singhbum district of Jharkhand 1982. The tribals of Singhbum against government decision to replace natural sal forest with teak. Against the government decision to replace the natural sal forest with teak. नेचुरल साल फॉरेस्ट है. नेचुरल साल फॉरेस्ट को तीक से रिप्लेस करना था. नवधान्य मूवमेंट दैट इज 9 धान्य. दून वैली उत्तराखंड. वंदन शिवा दैट इज गांधी ऑफ ग्रेन. नवधान्य मूवमेंट गांधी ऑफ ग्रेन अगेंस्ट GM क्रॉप्स इन फेवर ऑफ नेचुरली occurring क्रॉप सीड्स. अपिको मूवमेंट 1983. उत्तर कन्नड़ शिमोगा डिस्ट्रिक्ट कर्नाटका. पांडुरंग हेगड़े Hegde against the felling and commercialization of natural forests and the ruin of ancient livelihood. Narmada Bachao Andolan 1985. Narmada river which flows through Gujarat, Maharashtra and MP. Medha Patkar, Baba Amte and others against large dams being built across the Narmada river. Tarun Bhagat Sangh, Alwar, Rajasthan 1985. राजेंद्र Singh, who is known as the waterman of India, environmental conservation, especially water harvesting, saving the Western Ghat, Kailash Malhotra against deforestation. Beach Bachao Andolan, which is by Vijay Jardhani to promote 12 अनाज. This is बीज बचाओ आंदोलन. यहाँ पे 12 अनाज को प्रमोट करने की बात की गई थी. एंड नवधन्य मूवमेंट, it was in Uttarakhand, and Navdanya movement was also in Uttarakhand. Beach Bachao Andolan, Uttarakhand. Vijay Jardhari to promote Bharanash, 12 grains in the place of cash crop like peas, potatoes, soybeans, etc. Navdanya movement 1982. Don Valley, Uttarakhand. Vandan Shiva, Gandhi of Green against GM crop. It was completely against the GM crop. It was against the GM crop. Navdanya movement. The Tehri Dam conflict 1990 Bhagirath Rivania Tehri in UK. Sundarlal Bongano protests against the displacement of town independence and the environmental consequences of ecosystem. Methi movement, Methi, which is mother's home 1995 Uttarakhand, Gwaldhan village. Kalyan Singh Rawat, the tree plantation movement. Kalyan Singh Rawat. Kalyan Singh Rawat, the teacher tree plantation movement. Kalyan Singh Rawat, which is a tree plantation movement. Kalyan Singh Rawat, which is a tree plantation movement. It is environment and ecology is a multidisciplinary subject. Environment, two elements: physically biotic, non-living; biological biotic, living; land, water, air; land, water, and air; biological biotic, living; flora and fauna. Ecology is the study of biosphere. It is also called environmental biology. Ecology is called the study of biosphere. It is also called environmental biology. Ecology is the study of biosphere. It is also called the environmental biology. Ecology is the study of biosphere. It is also called the environmental biology. Ecology is the study of biosphere. It is also called as environmental biology. Triple planetary crisis, that is pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate change. First is pollution, second is biodiversity loss, and third is the climate change. It is mentioned in Making Peace with Nature Report 2021 UNA. It is mentioned in Making Peace with Nature Report 2021 UNA. It is mentioned in Making Peace with Nature Report 2021 UNO. It is mentioned in Making Peace with Nature Report 2021 UNO. Books like Rachel Cars and Silent Spring 1962 set the background for an environmental movement. Books like Rachel Cars and Silent Spring 1962 set the background for an environmental movement. The UN Conference on Human Environment in 1972 held in Stockholm was the first international initiative to discuss environmental problems. UN Conference on Human Environment. UN Conference on Human Environment in 1972. UN Conference on Human Environment in 1972 held in Stockholm. In this conference, it was decided that every year 5th of June will be celebrated as World Environment Day. In 1973, first World Environment Day was celebrated. In 1983, the UN set up the World Commission on Environment and Development. In 1983, the UN set up the World Commission on Environment and Development, that is WCED, World Commission on Environment and Development, with Gro Harlem Brundtland as the chairperson. In 1983, the UN set up the World Commission on Environment and Development, which is WCD, with Gro Harlem Brundtland as the chairperson. The WCD report that is of a common feature emphasized the need for integration of economic and ecological system. The Commission supported the concept of sustainable development. It supported the concept of sustainable development. The WCD, that is the World Commission on Environment and Development, defined sustainable development as sustainable development that meets the needs of a person without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. The lithosphere land covers approximately 29%, exact 29.22% of total area of the Earth. Lithosphere is equal to crust and uppermost mantle. Lithosphere is crust plus uppermost mantle. Structure of Earth's interior: crust, mantle, and core. Crust, Seema and knife, CR layer, seema layer, and knife layer. 1% of Earth's volume extends between 30 to 100 km. 30 to 100 km. 30 to 100 km. Crust is thicker in the continents and on the ocean floor. Crust is thicker in the continents and in the ocean floor. Crust layer is of lighter density as compared to the interior layers. Crust is thicker in the continents. Crust is thicker in the continents than on the ocean floor. Crust layer is of lighter density as compared to the interior layers. Thinnest of all the layers: silica, that is Cr, silica plus aluminum, that is Cr layer. Mantle 84%, mantle is 84%, mantle is 84%, 2900 km silica plus magnesium seema. Core 15%, 6400 km consists of metal, plastic state of high temperature and pressure. Nickel plus ferrum, knife, it accounts for Earth's magnetism. Hydrosphere covers 71, that is 70.78%. English word ST, cold rich water everywhere and not at oxygen. Ice sheet, oceans were 97.3% water. Ocean 97.3%. Ice sheet and cap 2%. Oceans 97.3%. Ice sheet caps 2%. Groundwater less than 1%, 0.68. Ocean ice sheets and caps, oceans, then ice sheets and caps, then groundwater. सबसे ज़्यादा ocean में है, उसके बाद ice sheets and caps सबसे ज़्यादा है ocean में, then ice sheets and caps that is 2%, उसके बाद है groundwater में less than 1%. First is ocean, second is ice sheet and cap, third is groundwater, उसके बाद है फ्रेश लेक 0.009, inland seas and salt lake 0.0019, then comes the atmosphere 0.0019, and then comes the river 0.0001% fresh water. सबसे पहले आएगा ocean, then ice sheet cap, then ground water, then fresh water lakes, 0.009, inland sea, salt lake, atmosphere, rivers, and then fresh water. Direct source of fresh water is rain. Indirect source of fresh water is in the groundwater. Drinking water is also known as potable water. Study of lower layers of atmosphere is known as meteorology. Study of lower layers of atmosphere is also known as meteorology. Study of upper layers of atmosphere is known as aerology. Study of lower layers of atmosphere is known as meteorology, and upper layers of atmosphere is known as aerology. Nitrogen, oxygen, argon. Nitrogen 78%, oxygen 21%, argon 0.9%, CO2 0.03%. Nitrogen, oxygen, argon, CO2, hydrogen. Nitrogen 78, oxygen 21, argon 0.9%, CO2 0.03%, and hydrogen 0.01. So nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, hydrogen. Nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, helium, ozone, and then water. Helium 0.005%, helium 0.005%, ozone 0.00001%, and then water vapor. Nitrogen, oxygen, argon, CO2, hydrogen, helium, ozone, then water. Nitrogen, oxygen, argon, CO2, hydrogen, helium, ozone, and then water. Water vapor may not exceed 3 to 4% of the total volume of air at any given place. Structure of atmosphere: the density of the atmosphere decreases with height. The density of the atmosphere decreases with height. Troposphere, troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. 8 to 18 किलोमीटर. पोल्स में हाइट कम होगी, इक्वेटर पर मैक्सिमम होगी 50 किलोमीटर, 80 किलोमीटर, 513 किलोमीटर, 10,000 किलोमीटर. Troposphere, tropos is equals to rotating or changing, also known as turbosphere or convectosphere. Troposphere is also known as turbosphere. Troposphere is also known as turbosphere or convectosphere. Troposphere is also known as Troposphere is also known as turbosphere or convectosphere. Troposphere is also known as turbosphere or the convectosphere. Troposphere is also known as turbosphere and convectosphere. In this layer, the temperature decreases with height. In this layer, the temperature of air decreases with height. 1 degree Celsius change होता है, 165 मीटर ऊपर जाते हैं. In this layer, the temperature of air decreases with height at an average of 1 degree Celsius for 165 meter. Most of the weather phenomena take place in this layer. Stratosphere, the temperature remains constant initially and then increases with height. The temperature remains constant initially and then increases with height. Free from cloud, associated with the phenomena, conditions are ideal for flying of jet aircraft. Ozone in this layer absorbs harmful UV radiation from the sun. Then comes the thermosphere. Thermo, that is heat. Its lower part is called the ionosphere. Thermosphere का जो लोअर पार्ट होता है, थर्मोस्फेयर का जो लोअर पार्ट होता है, इट इज कॉल्ड एज आयनोस्फेयर. इन द आयनोस्फेयर द टेम्परेचर राइजेस ड्रामेटिकली रीचिंग अप टू अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 2500 डिग्री सेल्सियस. थर्मोस्फेयर का जो लोअर पार्ट होता है, इट इज नोन एज आयनोस्फेयर. थर्मोस्फेयर का जो लोअर पार्ट होता है, थर्मोस्फेयर का लोअर पार्ट इज नोन एज थर्मोस्फेयर का जो लोअर पार्ट होता है, इट इज नोन एज आयनोस्फेयर. It is known as ionosphere. Thermosphere का lower part is known as ionosphere. In the ionosphere, तो mesosphere thermosphere के बीच में ionosphere रहेगा. Its lower part is called as ionosphere. In the ionosphere, the temperature rises dramatically, reaching up to approximately 2500 degrees Celsius. In the ionosphere, the temperature rises dramatically, reaching up to approximately 2500 degrees Celsius. The temperature rises dramatically, reaching up to approximately 500 degrees Celsius. The increase in temperature is due to the fact that gas molecule present in the layer absorbs the UV and X-rays of the sun. The increase in temperature is due to the fact that gas molecules present in the layer absorb UV and X-rays of the sun. This results in the breakup of the gas molecule into electrically charged particle called ions. This results in the breakup of the gas molecule into electrically charged particle called ion. These particles receives the radio waves that is transmitted from the Earth's surface and then reflect the radio wave back to the Earth's surface. In this way, these particles make possible wireless and long distance communication. Long radio waves from D layer of ionosphere. Long radio waves get reflected from the D layer of ionosphere, and short radio waves from E1, E2, F1, F2 layers of the atmosphere. The long radio waves from the D layers of ionosphere, long radio waves got deflected from the D layer of the atmosphere, and short radio waves from E1, E2, F1, F2 layers of the ionosphere. Ecology. It is a combination of two Greek words, oikos, that is house, habitat, dwelling place, and logos, that is a study. Thus, ecology is the study of the biosphere, dwelling place of organism. Dwelling place of organism. Ecology is the study of biosphere. इकोलॉजी इज द स्टडी ऑफ द बायोस्फीयर, जहाँ पे हम रहते हैं उसकी स्टडी को इकोलॉजी बोलते हैं. ओके. Dwelling place of organism. Ecology is also called bioecology, bionomics और environmental biology. इसी को हम लोग bioecology, bionomics और environmental biology कहते हैं. Controversy who coined the term ecology, ecology. H. Rider 1868, then Ernst Haeckel in 1869. H. Rider and Ernst Haeckel. Controversy. H. Rider and Ernst Haeckel, American biologist. That is E.P. Odom wrote in his popular book Fundamentals of Ecology. The word ecology was first proposed by Ernst Haeckel in 1869. E.P. Odom ने अपनी बुक्स फंडामेंटल्स ऑफ इकोलॉजी में सबसे पहले लिखा है कि ernst haeckel in 1869 उन्होंने इस बुक को कॉइन किया था. सम स्कॉलर्स Ernst Haeckel is known as the father of ecology, classical period. Some scholars consider Alexander von Humboldt as the father of ecology. और कुछ जो scholars हैं वो Alexander von Humboldt को father of ecology बोलते हैं classical period का. E.P. Odom father of modern ecology, modern period. तो सबसे पहले E.P. Odom में अपनी बुक है that is the fundamentals of ecology, उसमें नाम लिया हुआ है Ernst Haeckel का. He is the father of modern ecology, modern period, and Ernst Haeckel is the father of ecology, classical period. Ramdev Mishra, father of Indian ecology, father of Indian ecology, father of Indian ecology, father of Indian ecology. Next, levels of biological levels of ecological organization, ecological hierarchy. Total 7 levels होती हैं. Only prayer can enable life blissful and beautiful. Only prayer can enable life beautiful and blissful. O for organism, population, community, ecosystem, landscape, biome, and then biosphere or the ecosphere. Organism, population, community, ecosystem, landscape, biome, biosphere or ecosphere. ये बायोलॉजिकल है. दिस इज इकोसिस्टम, लैंडस्केप, बायोम और बायोस्फीयर या फिर इकोस्फीयर. इट इज बायोलॉजिकल प्लस फिजिकल. ऑर्गेनिज्म एंड इंडिविजुअल लिविंग बीइंग वेदर ऑफ प्लांट और एनिमल. दैट example rose and infant, etc. Virus is not included in constant part of organisms because they are incapable of autonomous metabolism, growth or reproduction. Similar organisms having the potential for interbreeding and producing fertile offspring constitute what we call as species. Similar organisms having the potential for interbreeding and producing fertile offspring constitute what we call as species. Similar organisms having the potential producing fertile offspring constitute what we call as species. Similar organisms having the potential for interbreeding and producing fertile offspring constitute what we call as species. Similar organisms having the potential for interbreeding, जो इंटरब्रीड कर सकते हैं. सिमिलर ऑर्गेनिज्म हैविंग द पोटेंशियल फॉर, जो इंटरब्रीड कर सकते हैं, प्रोड्यूसिंग फर्टाइल ऑफ स्प्रिंग्स, उनको हम लोग स्पीशीज बोलते हैं. देन कम्स दी पॉपुलेशन ग्रुप ऑफ इंडिविजुअल. एग्जाम्पल ऑल इंडिविजुअल्स ऑफ रोज, ऑल इंडिविजुअल ऑफ एलिफेंट्स, एक्सेट्रा. कम्युनिटी एंड असेंबलेज ऑफ ऑल पॉपुलेशन. एग्जाम्पल ऑल पॉपुलेशन ऑफ रोज, ऑल पॉपुलेशन ऑफ एलिफेंट in an area. Ecosystem, it is a fundamental functional unit of ecology. Ecosystem is a fundamental functional unit of ecology because it includes both biotic and abiotic environment. Forest, grassland, desert, marine, lake, river, pond, crop, field, park, spacecraft, swimming pool, well, aquarium, etc. Then comes the landscape. It is defined as a heterogeneous area composed of a cluster of interacting ecosystem data repeated in a similar manner throughout. Example, watershed. Biome, it is a large regional unit characterized by a major vegetation type and associated fauna. It is a large regional unit which is characterized by a major vegetation होगी and associated fauna होगा found in a specific climate zone. Example, terrestrial and aquatic. There are two types of biomes. एक terrestrial हो सकता है, aquatic हो सकता है. terrestrials में भी सबसे पहले आते हैं equatorial evergreen forest biome 0 to 15 degree of globe, tropical rainforest biome 12 to 25 degree of biome. Then comes the temperate deciduous forest biome 45 to 66.5 degree. Aquatic, marine में आएंगे salty water, ocean sea, fresh water में lotic and lentic. Lotic denotes running water, lentic denotes standing water, rivers and streams. Standing में lakes and ponds, wetland, marshes and swamp areas. Only play enable life beautiful and blissful branches of ecology and the basis of levels of organization, autoecology and syncology. It is the study of relationship of individual species to its environment. Example, organism ecology. It is the study of relationship of individual species to its environment. एक individual अपने environment के साथ कैसे behave करता है. This we study in autoecology. And syncology study study of relationship of group of organisms and their environments. Ecology, that is the study of group of organisms and their environment. Or ecology, it is a study of relationship of individual species to its environment. Example, organism ecology. Ecology, it is a study of relationship of group of organisms and the environment on the basis of taxonomic affinities. On the basis of taxonomic affinities, plant ecology and animal ecology. This is on the basis of levels of organization. Autoecology, individual with its environment, and ecology, a group of organisms and their environment. On the basis of habitat, terrestrial and aquatic ecological factors or eco factors of abiotic and biotic. Abiotic and biotic relationship between abiotic and biotic factor is called holocoenosis. Relationship between abiotic and biotic factor is known as holocoenosis. Relationship between the abiotic and the biotic factor is called as holocoenosis. Relationship between the abiotic and the biotic factors is called as holocoenosis. Relationship between the abiotic and biotic factor is called as holocoenosis. Relationship between the abiotic and the biotic factor is called as holocoenosis. A relationship between the abiotic and the biotic factor is called as holocoenosis. Sun emits a wide spectrum of light only. Long waves, infrared portions of visible light, and short waves are important ecologically. UV is both beneficial plus harmful. Vitamin D is synthesized in the skin and hair under the influence of UV light. Too much exposure to UV rays may lead to skin cancer, including melanoma. Plants are divided into 3 types on the basis of photoperiod. Total length of the daylight period to which plants are exposed: long day, short day, and day neutral. Long day on the basis of photoperiod एक होते हैं long day, short day, and day neutral. Example: wheat, barley, oat, herbane, etc. Short day: rice, soybean, cotton, sorghum, jowar, etc. Day neutral: rose, sunflower, tomato, chili, tobacco. Into 3 types on the basis of photoperiod. 3 types on the basis of photoperiod, that is total length of the daily light period to which plants are exposed: long day, short day, and day neutral. Long day: wheat, barley, oat, herbane, etc. Short day: rice, soybean, cotton, sorghum, jowar, etc. Wheat, it is a rabi crop, it is a kharif crop. Rose, sunflower, tomato, chili, tobacco. Plants are divided into 2 types on the basis of sunlight. First is on the basis of sunlight, they are divided into 2 types. First is photophilous, heliophilous, and second is sciophyllous or heliophobous. Photophilous or heliophilous. Photophilous or the heliophilous, sunlight loving होता है. Photophilous, first is the photophilous or the heliophilous. Photophilous or the heliophilous, they are sunlight loving, birds, cactus, sugarcane, maize, etc. Photophilous or heliophilous. Second group is sciophyllous and heliophobous. Sciophyllous and heliophobous, shade loving or sun fearing. Example: fern, several herbaceous plants, etc. Total degree of heat received by the plant is called as thermoperiod. Total degree of heat received by the plant is called as its thermoperiod. On the basis of temperature, on the basis of temperature, plants are divided into 4 categories. On the basis of temperature, the plants are divided into 4 categories. On the basis of temperature, plants are divided into 4 categories. First is megatherms, mesotherms, microtherms, hectotherms. On the basis of temperature, plants are divided into 4 categories. On the basis of temperature, plants are divided into 4 categories: megatherms, mesotherms, microtherms, and hectotherms. Megatherms, mesotherms, microtherms, and hectotherms. Mega, meso, micro. Mega, meso, then micro. Mega, meso, micro. Mega, meso, and micro. Mega tropical है, that is evergreen forest, desert, grassland, rainforest. Then comes the mesotherms. Temperature 10 to 25 degrees Celsius, 10 to 25 इक्वेटर से लेट से स्टार्ट करते हैं. मेगा, मीजो, माइक्रो, देन हेकेस्टोथर्म्स. मेगा, मीसो, माइक्रो, हेकेस्टोथर्म्स. मेगा 25 to 45 डिग्री सेल्सियस. ट्रॉपिकल मीजोथर्म्स 10 to 25 डिग्री सेल्सियस. सब ट्रॉपिकल टेम्परेट. देन माइक्रोथर्म्स टाइगा, इसमें आएंगे कॉनिफेरस फॉरेस्ट. हेकेस्टोथर्म्स में टंड्रा आएंगे, लाइकेन, मॉस, स्मॉल श्रब्स, एक्सेट्रा. On the basis of speed, winds are classified as breeze, gale, storm, and hurricane. Breeze, gale, storm, and hurricane. Breeze 5 to 50, gale 50 to 100, storm 100 to 125, and hurricane more than 125. Breeze, gale, storm, and then hurricane. Breeze, gale, storm, and then hurricane. Relationship, symbiosis, living together, both benefit each other. Algae and fungus, like an example. Parasitism, relationship between 2 organisms in which one benefits at the expense of the other. Relationship between 2 organisms in which relationship between the two organisms in which one benefit at the expense of the other. Example: bacteria, virus, cocoa, etc. Parasitism: a relationship between two organisms in which one benefit at the expense of the other. Bacteria, virus, and cocoa, etc. Parasitism: a relationship between two organisms in which one benefit at the expense of the other. Bacteria, virus, cocoa, etc. Parasitism: a relationship between the two organisms in which one benefit at the expense of the other. Example: bacteria, virus, cocoa, etc. Commensalism: an association between two organisms in which one benefit and the other derives neither benefit nor harm. प्लस और जीरो का रिलेशनशिप होता है. An association between two organisms in which one benefit and the other derives neither benefit nor harm. Example is remora and shark. Remora eats another shark and feeds the leftover of the host shark meal. Next is predation, where one organism, the predator, kills and eats another organism, the prey. Grass, that is prey, and grasshopper, that is predator. Small fish, prey. Large fish, predator. Saprophytus, sapro, to decompose. Bacteria, fungi, and mushroom. Deep ecology, first coined by Ernest Nash in 1972. First coined by Ernest Nash in 1972. First coined by Ernest Nash in 1972. It is related to environmentalism, that is a concept that pleads radical measure to protect the natural environment and irrespective of their effects on human welfare. It is ecocentric philosophy which considers humans as equal to other organisms. Deep ecology, 1972. Deep ecology, 1972. The reverse philosophy of deep ecology is shallow ecology. It is anthropocentric, that is human-centric. Ecocentric, it is also introduced by Ernest Nash. It is a philosophy of ecological harmony or equilibrium in the global natural ecosystem or environmental system. तो it is ecosophy. जो डीप इकोलॉजी और शैलो इकोलॉजी के बीच में कहीं लाई करेगा. अंडरस्टैंड इट इज अ फिलोसफी ऑफ इकोलॉजिकल हार्मनी और इक्विलिब्रियम इन द ग्लोबल नेचुरल इकोसिस्टम. इट इज अ फिलोसफी ऑफ इकोलॉजिकल हार्मनी और इक्विलिब्रियम इन द ग्लोबल नेचुरल इकोसिस्टम. It is the philosophy of ecological harmony. It is the philosophy of ecological harmony or equilibrium in the global natural ecosystem or environmental system. Ecotona, boundary or transition area between two or more communities or bands. Example: estuary area between fresh water and sea water. Footprint: it is a method to measure human demand or natural capital. It is a method to measure human demand or natural capital. It is expressed as a minimum area of land required to completely sustain the life of a person is called as ecological footprint. It is measured in global hectare. Humanity's ecological footprint is more than 1.5. That is, we require 50% more. 1.5%, that is, we require 50% more. Okay. Niche by Joseph Grinnell. Niche term is coined by Joseph Grinnell 1917. Niche term is coined by Joseph Grinnell. Niche term is coined by Joseph Grinnell. Niche term is coined by Joseph Grinnell in 1917. It means a place of an organism within its ecosystem or community. An ecosystem consists of a number of overlapping and interacting niches. A niche is a unique for species. That means no two species can have exact identical niches. Each species makes or arranges its own distinct nest. Niche by Joseph Grinnell. Niche term is coined by Joseph Grinnell. Niche term is coined by Joseph Grinnell. Niche term is coined by Joseph Grinnell. Overshoot, it means pass safely beyond or cross the limit. We are consuming resources faster than they can regenerate and creating waste faster than it can be absorbed. This is called ecological overshoot. Overshoot. See, sere. It means dry or withered. The entire sequence of communities that successfully change in a particular area is called sere. It means dry or withered. Sere का मतलब होता है, what is the meaning of sere? Dry or withered. It means the entire sequence of communities that successfully change. The entire sequence of communities that successfully change in a particular area is called sere. Succession: the successive displacement of communities in an area over a period of time is called ecological succession. Both biotic and abiotic components are involved in such changes. According to Frederick Clement, sources of ecological succession are nudation, invasion and migration, excessive competition, reaction, stabilization. Nudation होता है, then invasion, migration, excess बोल सकते हैं, excess competition, reaction, stabilization. Two types होते हैं, primary and secondary. Primary किसी नई जगह पे हो रहा है, unoccupied sites पे. Secondary occurs in the preoccupied site.